The stars shimmered like distant jewels on the main viewing screen of the Galactic Survey Vessel Cartographer. Captain Jack Wilson watched his crew work with quiet pride. After 15 years of service, they were about to make history. Final approach to D449, announced Navigator Tom, his six-fingered hands dancing across the control panel. Establishing stable orbit in 3 minutes. Jack nodded. Excellent. Begin full spectrum analysis once we're in position. D449, nicknamed Terminus by the crew, represented the final unmapped Deathworld in the known galaxy. The Galactic Survey Corps had spent over a century cataloging every planet, moon, and significant asteroid in charted space. Only the most extreme environments have been saved for last. The infamous Deathworlds with conditions so harsh that most intelligent species couldn't survive even with protective gear. Science Officer Rita looked up from her station, her normally cool demeanor showing rare excitement. Captain, preliminary scans are already showing some unusual readings. Unusual how? Jack moved to her station, looking over her shoulder at the data streams. Surface gravity is 9.8 meters per second squared. That's nearly twice the galactic average for inhabited worlds. Atmospheric composition shows high oxygen content, over 20%, which should create constant fire hazards. And the temperature range. She paused, double-checking her instruments. Some regions swing from below freezing to over 40 degrees in a single planetary rotation. Engineer Ben whistled. No wonder it was classified as a death world. Nothing could evolve in those conditions. And yet, Rita's voice trailed off as she adjusted her scanner. I'm detecting complex organic compounds on the surface. Not just microbes, but this can't be right. Jack leaned closer. What is it? If these readings are accurate, the planet has complex multicellular life. Lots of it. The bridge fell silent. According to all known biological science, such conditions should make advanced life impossible. The crushing gravity alone would prevent large organisms from developing. Could it be a sensor malfunction? Jack asked. Ben shook his head. All systems are running at optimal levels, Captain. We just completed diagnostics before approaching the planet. Deploy the probes, Jack ordered. I want confirmation before we report this. The crew launched 3 automated survey probes designed to withstand extreme conditions. As the machines descended through Terminus's atmosphere, data began flowing back to the ship. Radiation levels higher than standard safety parameters, reported Rita. Atmospheric turbulence exceeding predicted models. Probe 1 is experiencing some interference but maintaining functionality. The main screen switched to visual feed from the probes. The bridge crew gasped collectively. Vast blue oceans covered most of the planet's surface. Continents displayed a riot of green vegetation alongside brown and red landscapes. White clouds swirled in the atmosphere. It looked habitable. That's impossible, whispered Navigator Tom. According to our standards, nothing should survive there, let alone thrive. The second shock came when Probe 2 flew over what appeared to be artificial structures. Are those buildings? Jack asked, his voice barely audible. Rita enlarged the image. Affirmative. Those are definitely constructed structures. Roads, agricultural patterns, and... She paused, her hands freezing over her controls. Captain, I'm detecting electromagnetic emissions consistent with technology use. Jack stared at the screen in disbelief. You're telling me there's an advanced civilization on the most extreme death world in the galaxy? Not just advanced, Rita replied as new data appeared on her screen. I'm picking up artificial satellites in orbit and communication signals. Whatever lives down there has spaceflight capability. Jack sank back into his command chair. In his 15 years with the Survey Corps, he had never encountered anything like this. The final death world wasn't just harboring life. It was home to a technological civilization that had somehow evolved in conditions that should have made their very existence impossible. Send an encrypted message to command, he ordered. Priority Alpha. We found something that changes everything. The Galactic Council meeting chamber buzzed with nervous energy. Representatives from 27 spacefaring civilizations had gathered for an emergency session. The discovery on Terminus had turned their understanding of life upside down. Admiral Gray, head of the Survey Corps, stood at the central podium. His weathered face looked tired after 3 days of non-stop meetings. The Asterisk cartographer Asterisk has maintained orbit around Terminus for 7 standard days, he reported. They have collected extensive data on the native species, which calls itself human. These humans have achieved industrial civilization and early space exploration, despite evolving on what we classify as the most extreme death world ever discovered. The Xorlian representative raised a tentacle. How is this possible? No species should be able to evolve under such conditions. That's the question that has our scientists baffled. Admiral Gray replied. These humans have dense skeletal structures to manage the high gravity. Their bodies can efficiently cool themselves through a water excretion process. Their respiratory systems filter atmospheric toxins that would kill most of us instantly. And perhaps most shocking, they can survive radiation levels we consider lethal. Images of Earth's cities, oceans, and forests appeared on the large screens surrounding the chamber. Many representatives showed signs of discomfort seeing such harsh conditions presented as normal. They believe their world is ordinary, continued the Admiral. They have no concept that the conditions they evolved in are extreme by galactic standards. Councillor Mira, known for her cautious approach to new species, spoke next. Have these humans detected our presence? No. Captain Wilson has maintained strict observation protocols. The Asterisk cartographer Asterisk remains hidden behind their moon, and all probes use stealth technology. The room fell silent as everyone considered the implications. A species that evolved on a death world would have natural advantages over most galactic citizens. Their bodies would be stronger, more resilient, and possibly more aggressive. I propose we quarantine the entire system, said General Dorn, the military representative. If these humans ever develop faster than light travel, they could pose an existential threat to galactic peace. Professor London from the Science Academy shook his head. That would be a mistake. Think of what we could learn from them. Their biology alone could revolutionize medicine throughout the galaxy. Or weapons technology, countered General Dorn. Admiral Gray raised his hands for quiet. The Council must decide. Do we make contact with the humans, or do we quarantine their system and monitor from a distance? Captain Jack Wilson sat in his quarters aboard the Asterisk cartographer Asterisk, reviewing the latest probe data. The humans continued to fascinate him. Their cities were packed with millions of individuals who somehow tolerated living in close proximity despite the harsh conditions. They built structures that reached hundreds of meters into the sky, despite the crushing gravity. A soft chime announced a visitor. Science Officer Rita entered, carrying a data pad. Captain, you need to see this, she said, handing him the device. Jack scanned the information, his eyes widening. Are you certain? Yes. We've intercepted and decoded their communications. The humans are planning to send a crewed mission to their 4th planet within the next month. Their space program is accelerating faster than we predicted. Jack placed the pad on his desk and stared at the image of Earth rotating slowly on his wall screen. If they establish a presence on another planet, they'll be scanning the system more thoroughly. They might detect us. What do? We haven't received the Council's decision yet. Jack stood and straightened his uniform. We can't wait. If the humans discover us accidentally, it could create panic or hostility. We need to control the first contact situation. You're suggesting we reveal ourselves before getting authorization? Rita asked, clearly concerned. Sometimes making history requires breaking protocol, Jack said with a slight smile. Prepare a first contact package. We're going to introduce ourselves to the humans. Rita hesitated for a moment, then nodded. I'll gather the team. As she left, Jack looked back at the image of Earth. The blue planet, so harsh yet so vibrant, had become the most important discovery in galactic history. and he was about to change its destiny forever. The landing shuttle from the cartographer descended through Earth's atmosphere, its advanced stealth systems masking it from human detection. Captain Jack Wilson had chosen a remote mountain region for the initial contact, isolated enough to avoid mass panic, but accessible for the small team of human representatives they hoped to meet. "Shield status?" Jack asked, gripping his seat as the craft shook violently. Engineer Ben checked the readings, holding at 82%. "This atmosphere is more corrosive than we expected. The turbulence is also stronger than our models predicted." "Maintain course," Jack ordered. "Rita, are you receiving any signals from the settlement?" Science Officer Rita adjusted her equipment. "Yes, but they're primitive radio waves. Nothing suggesting they've detected us." The team had chosen a small research station for first contact, scientists who might be more open to the concept of alien life. According to their reconnaissance, only 6 humans staffed the facility, studying local weather patterns. The shuttle landed in a clearing 2 kilometers from the station. As the engines powered down, the team performed final checks on their environmental suits. Despite extensive study of human biology, they weren't taking chances with the deadly conditions outside. "Remember," Jack said as they prepared to exit, "we move slowly, keep communications open, and display no weapons. These humans have never encountered non-Earth life. They will be frightened." The team of 5 stepped out onto Earth's surface. Even through their protective suits, they could feel the crushing gravity pulling at their bodies. Their movements were sluggish and required more effort than expected. "This is difficult," gasped Navigator Tom, struggling to walk normally. "The humans move through this every day without assistance," Rita remarked, adjusting her scanner. "Incredible. They had covered half the distance to the research station when their plans collapsed." "Captain," Rita called out, "I'm detecting a vehicle approaching rapidly from the east." Jack turned, his movements hampered by the suit and gravity. A dust cloud rose in the distance, and soon they could see a rugged vehicle bouncing over the uneven terrain. It was heading straight for them. "How do they know we're here?" Ben asked. "Our stealth systems showed." "They might just be patrolling," Jack interrupted. "Hold position. First contact is happening now, ready or not." The human vehicle, what they would later learn was called a jeep, skidded to a stop 50 meters away. 4 humans jumped out, wearing simple cloth coverings despite the harsh environment. 3 held what appeared to be primitive projectile weapons. The 4th, slightly taller than the others, held only a handheld device. "They appear aggressive," Tom whispered. "They're scared," Jack replied. "We look alien to them." The tallest human stepped forward cautiously, speaking into the device. The words emerged from the translator built into Jack's suit moments later. "Not authorized for this area. This is a restricted military research facility. Identify yourselves immediately." Jack looked at his team and took a deep breath. He slowly raised his hands in what they had learned was a human gesture of peace. The translation system activated as he spoke. "We come in peace from beyond your world. We wish to establish friendly contact with your species." The humans stared in visible shock. The tallest one, who wore different markings on his clothing, lowered his device slightly. "You're not from Earth." The translation came through. "No. We represent the Galactic Alliance of Civilizations. Your world is the final planet we have mapped in this section of the galaxy." The humans whispered among themselves, their weapons still raised but their postures showing confusion rather than immediate aggression. "Why should we believe you?" the leader asked. Jack made a careful decision and slowly reached for his helmet. His team tensed as he began to remove it, exposing himself to Earth's toxic atmosphere. The humans gasped as they saw his clearly non-human features, the subtle blue tint to his skin, the enlarged eyes adapted for low-light environments, the lack of external ears. "Because," Jack said, fighting the burning sensation in his lungs, "we have traveled a very long way to meet you." He quickly replaced his helmet, taking deep breaths of filtered air. The gamble had worked. The humans lowered their weapons. "I think," their leader said slowly, "you better come inside and explain yourselves." Inside the military research facility, tension filled the air. The humans had escorted Captain Jack and his team to a large meeting room with a simple metal table and chairs. Security personnel stood at each door, weapons still within reach, but no longer aimed directly at the visitors. Major Frank Taylor, the facility commander, studied the aliens with a mix of disbelief and scientific curiosity. Next to him sat Dr. Lisa Reed, the base's lead scientist, who could barely contain her excitement. "Let me understand this correctly," Major Taylor said, leaning forward. "You're saying that our planet, Earth, is considered extremely dangerous by other intelligent species." Jack nodded, his movement still careful in the crushing gravity. "Your world has been classified as a Class 5 death world in our survey system. It is the most hostile planet we have discovered that supports complex life." Dr. Reed's eyes widened. "What makes Earth so dangerous by your standards?" Rita, who had removed her helmet after their environmental tests confirmed they could breathe the air for short periods, answered, "Almost everything. Your gravity is nearly twice what most spacefaring species evolved with. Your oxygen levels create constant fire hazards. Your solar radiation would cause severe damage to most galactic citizens. Your weather patterns are violently unpredictable. Your microorganisms are extraordinarily aggressive." The humans exchanged confused glances. "But this is normal to us," Dr. Reed said. "Exactly," Jack replied. "That's what makes your species so remarkable. You evolved in conditions that would kill most other intelligent life forms within minutes of exposure. Your bodies have developed extraordinary adaptations that allow you to thrive here." Major Taylor frowned. "If our world is so dangerous, why did you risk coming here?" "We are the Galactic Survey Corps," Tom explained. "Our mission is to map all planets capable of supporting life. Earth was the final death world on our list. We expected to find only simple organisms, perhaps microscopic life at most. Finding an advanced civilization was unexpected." "Advanced?" A younger scientist named Mike laughed. "We've barely reached our own moon." Jack smiled, a gesture they had practiced to appear friendly to humans. "Technologically, you are indeed in early development. Biologically, you are marvels. Your bodies can withstand forces that would crush other species. Your immune systems fight off pathogens that would devastate entire planets elsewhere. You can survive temperature variations that would kill most sentient beings." As if to demonstrate this point, Rita suddenly grimaced, shifting uncomfortably in her chair. "Are you all right?" Dr. Reed asked. "The gravity," Rita admitted. "Even with our support systems, extended exposure is becoming painful. We can only stay in this room for about an hour before we need to return to our shuttle's gravity regulators." Major Taylor's expression softened slightly. "So we're the strong ones here." "Extraordinarily so," Jack confirmed. "A human child could likely overpower any adult from most council worlds, simply due to muscle density developed in this gravity." The implications began to sink in. Dr. Reed looked thoughtful. "Is this why you approached us carefully? You fear us?" Jack chose his words carefully. "The Galactic Council debated whether to contact your species at all. Some feared that humans, evolved in such harsh conditions, might be naturally aggressive or dangerous if introduced to the wider galaxy." "And what did you think?" Major Taylor asked. "I argued that any species that survived on a death world would have developed not just physical strength, but extraordinary adaptability and resilience. These are valuable qualities. The galaxy faces challenges that might benefit from a human perspective." An uncomfortable silence fell across the room. The humans were processing the revelation that they were considered biological superweapons by galactic standards, simply because of where they evolved. "So what happens now?" Dr. Reed finally asked. Jack looked at each human in turn. "That depends on you. We propose a careful, phased introduction to galactic society. Knowledge and cultural exchange first, then limited travel, then formal recognition in the Galactic Council. Major Taylor stood up, his tall frame imposing even to his fellow humans. I need to contact my superiors immediately. This goes beyond my authority. We understand, Jack replied. But please emphasize that we come in peace. How humans enter the galactic community will set the tone for centuries to come. As the Major left the room, Jack noticed the remaining humans staring at his team with new eyes, not just seeing aliens, but seeing fragile beings who had braved a hostile world to make contact. The first bridge between worlds had been built. 6 months after first contact, the original military facility had transformed into Harmony Base, the first official human-alien diplomatic center on Earth. A specialized wing had been constructed with reduced gravity and filtered air to accommodate the visiting aliens. In the main conference room, General Robert Williams of the United Nations Space Command sat across from Ambassador Trell, the Galactic Council's official representative. They were reviewing footage from the first human visit to the Council's nearest outpost station. Your Lieutenant Cooper continues to impress everyone, Ambassador Trell said, his delicate fingers adjusting the holographic controls. Watch how he handles this situation. The video showed a tall human male in a simple uniform entering a mechanical bay, where several alien engineers struggled with a massive piece of equipment. Warning lights flashed as a support strut began to buckle. That loading frame is designed to handle cargo in standard gravity, Trell explained. It was malfunctioning and about to collapse on the maintenance crew. On screen, Lieutenant Cooper assessed the situation instantly. He moved forward and simply lifted the entire frame with his bare hands, holding it steady while the engineers scrambled to safety and emergency systems activated. He lifted over 400 kilograms without assistance, Trell noted. A feat impossible for most species. General Williams nodded, trying not to show too much pride. Cooper was just acting on instinct. He didn't realize it was extraordinary. That's precisely what fascinates us about humans, Trell replied. What seems ordinary to you appears miraculous to the rest of the galaxy. The meeting continued as they discussed the preliminary trade agreements. Humans had little advanced technology to offer, but their biological resilience made them invaluable for certain tasks. The mining operation on Veros 3 is particularly interested in human workers, Trell continued. The atmospheric pressure there makes it impossible for most species to work more than 1 hour without special equipment. Your people could work full shifts with just basic breathing apparatus. And the compensation? General Williams asked. Access to medical technology that would eliminate most human diseases, for starters, and limited faster-than-light travel capability. Williams leaned back in his chair. My superiors are concerned that we're being viewed as nothing more than strong labor, useful only for our physical capabilities rather than our minds or culture. Trell's expression shifted to one the general had learned indicated concern. I assure you, that is not the Council's view. Yes, your physical adaptations are immediately valuable, but we recognize humanity has much more to offer. The meeting was interrupted as Dr. Lisa Reed entered, excitement clear on her face. Sorry to interrupt, but you both need to see this right away, she said, transferring data to the main display. The screen showed a laboratory where human and alien scientists worked side by side. In the center stood a large containment chamber with swirling gases inside. The joint research team just made a breakthrough, Dr. Reed explained. We've combined human immune cell resilience with Forian virus hunting technology. The result is a treatment that can target and eliminate the Dorax plague. Ambassador Trell stood up so quickly he had to steady himself in Earth's gravity. That's impossible. The Dorax plague has devastated 3 systems. Our best minds have found no solution. Human immune cells can withstand conditions that would destroy most alien cellular structures, Dr. Reed explained. This allowed us to engineer a delivery system that survives long enough to neutralize the plague organisms. General Williams watched Trell carefully. This is what I was trying to explain, Ambassador. Humans offer more than just muscle. Our very biology, evolved on this death world, gives us different perspectives on problems. Trell slowly sat down, his normal composure visibly shaken. A cure for the Dorax plague would save millions of lives across multiple species. He looked at the humans with new respect. Perhaps we have underestimated what your people bring to the galaxy. We're just getting started, Dr. Reed said with a confident smile. Our team has identified 17 other galactic diseases that might be treatable using similar principles. As they returned to their discussions, the dynamic had subtly shifted. Humans were no longer just curiosities from a hostile world. They were partners with unique abilities the galaxy desperately needed. On the screen behind them, Lieutenant Cooper was now helping design new safety protocols based on his experiences. The Deathworlders were finding their place in the stars. The emergency alarm blared throughout Galactic Council Station Epsilon 9. Red warning lights pulsed along every corridor as crew members rushed to emergency stations. In the command center, Station Director Voss stared at the main display with growing horror. "Status report," he demanded, his thin fingers gripping the edge of the console. Operations Chief Laurel's voice shook as she responded. "Containment failure in Research Sector 7. The experimental drive core has destabilized. Radiation levels are rising rapidly. Evacuation status. 70% of personnel already in escape pods." "But," she hesitated. "But what?" Director Voss pressed. "The technicians in the core chamber are trapped. The automatic lockdown sealed them in. There's no way to reach them remotely, and the radiation would kill anyone who tried to reach them physically." Voss closed his eyes briefly. Research Sector 7 contained 12 of their best engineers. The loss would be devastating, but there was nothing to be done. "Continue evacuation procedures," he ordered solemnly. The station's communication officer suddenly straightened. "Director, the human diplomatic vessel Unity is requesting emergency docking clearance." Voss turned in surprise. The small human delegation had departed the station hours ago, heading back toward Earth. Why would they return during an emergency? "Deny the request. It's too dangerous." "Sir," the communication officer insisted, "they say they can help with the containment breach." Before Voss could respond, the main doors to the command center slid open. Captain Jack Wilson entered, accompanied by 2 humans wearing the blue uniforms of Earth's newly formed space service. "Director Voss," Jack said urgently, "we received your distress signal. My human colleagues believe they can help." "Impossible," Voss replied. "The radiation levels in Sector 7 would kill any living being within minutes." One of the humans, a tall woman with dark skin and short black hair, stepped forward. "Not us. I'm Commander Helen Brooks, radiation specialist. My physiology can withstand radiation levels approximately 8 times what would be lethal to your species." Voss looked skeptical. "Even if that's true, the levels in the core chamber are beyond anything." "We brought specialized suits," interrupted the second human, a stocky man with a graying beard. "I'm Engineer Dan Miller. These suits, combined with our natural radiation resistance, should give us enough time to stabilize the core and free your people." Director Voss looked between the humans and the emergency display showing the rapidly deteriorating situation. The station would begin breaking apart in less than 30 minutes if the core wasn't stabilized. "You understand what you're proposing?" he asked. "Even with your biology and protection, this is extremely dangerous." Commander Brooks nodded firmly. "We understand, but we can't just let those people die if we can help." "The airlock to Sector 7 is on Level 4, Voss said after a moment's hesitation. "Chief Laurel will guide you." As the humans hurried away, Captain Jack turned to follow them. "Wait," Voss called. "Why are they doing this? Risking their lives for people they barely know." Jack paused. Humans evolved on a world where helping each other through deadly situations was necessary for survival. It's instinctive for them. 20 tense minutes passed in the command center. The evacuation continued as the station shuddered occasionally from energy surges. Voss and the remaining staff monitored the radiation levels in Sector 7, which had climbed to levels that would cause instant death to most galactic species. "Any contact from the humans?" Voss asked, his voice tight with worry. "Intermittent," the communications officer replied. "The radiation is interfering with—" "Wait, I'm getting something." The main screen flickered to life, showing a grainy image of Engineer Miller. His face was slick with sweat, and even through the poor video quality, they could see he was in pain. "Core stabilized," he managed to say between labored breaths. "Emergency systems online. We got your people all alive." A cheer erupted in the command center as the station's warning lights shifted from red to yellow. The radiation levels were already beginning to drop. "The medical team is standing by," Voss said, his voice thick with emotion. "Both for our crew and for you." Miller nodded weakly before the transmission cut out. Hours later, after the crisis had passed, Director Voss stood in the medical bay looking at the two humans. They lay on specialized beds, receiving treatment for radiation exposure that would have killed most species instantly. Despite their injuries, both were expected to recover fully. "They saved 14 lives today," the station's doctor told Voss quietly, "and potentially hundreds more by preventing the station's destruction." Voss nodded slowly. "The Council needs to know about this. The humans aren't just physically strong. They're brave in ways we never expected." As he left the medical bay, Voss understood that the galaxy's perception of humans was about to change dramatically again. 5 years after first contact, the Grand Council chamber on Centauri Prime buzzed with anticipation. Representatives from over 100 spacefaring civilizations filled the vast, circular room. Today marked a historic moment, the official recognition of Earth as a full member of the Galactic Alliance. High Chancellor Morn stood at the central podium, his ceremonial robes flowing around his slender frame. The chamber quieted as he raised his hands. "Today, we welcome the youngest members of our galactic family," his amplified voice echoed through the hall. "The species known as humans have traveled a unique path to join us among the stars." The massive display behind him showed images of Earth, its blue oceans, green continents, and swirling white clouds now familiar to most galactic citizens. "When we discovered their homeworld 5 years ago, many feared what it meant. A species that evolved on the most extreme Deathworld ever catalogued. A people who could withstand conditions that would kill most of us instantly. What place could such beings have in our peaceful alliance?" Ambassador James Carter stood with the small human delegation, feeling the weight of the moment. As Earth's first official representative to the Alliance, he carried the hopes of billions. Beside him stood Commander Helen Brooks, now recovered from her radiation exposure and honored throughout the galaxy for her heroism. "The answer," continued Chancellor Morn, "came not through words but through actions. In 5 short years, humans have proven themselves not through conquest, but through service." The display changed to show footage familiar to most viewers. Humans working in environments too hostile for other species, leading rescue missions on toxic worlds, developing medical treatments using their unique biology. On 15 separate occasions, human volunteers have risked their lives to save others in conditions no other species could survive. Their medical researchers have developed treatments for 7 previously incurable diseases. Their unique perspective has solved engineering problems that puzzled our brightest minds for decades. Ambassador Carter felt a surge of pride. The path hadn't been easy. There had been mistakes, cultural misunderstandings, and moments of fear on both sides. Some humans had pushed for military advantages, while some alien factions had advocated for restricting human movement throughout the galaxy. But cooperation had ultimately prevailed. Perhaps most remarkably, Chancellor Morn continued, "Humans have shown us something we had forgotten. In their struggle to survive on their harsh world, they developed not just physical strength, but uncommon courage and compassion. The very conditions that made Earth a death world forged a species that instinctively helps others, even at great personal risk." The chamber erupted in applause as the central platform rose, bringing Ambassador Carter forward to stand beside the Chancellor. Ambassador Carter, on behalf of the Galactic Alliance, I present Earth's formal membership charter, Chancellor Morn said, handing over a crystalline tablet etched with symbols from 100 worlds. Carter accepted it with a small bow. On behalf of Earth and all humans, we accept this honor and the responsibilities that come with it. As the ceremony concluded, Commander Brooks approached Carter with a smile. Hard to believe where we were just 5 years ago, she said quietly. Most of us had never even imagined alien life, and now we're part of a galactic civilization. Carter nodded. And to think they once feared us because of our world. They still do, a little, Brooks replied with a slight smile. But now they also need us. The rescue operation on Proxima IV last month proved that again. Outside the chamber windows, the spectacular twin suns of Centauri Prime began to set, casting golden light across the capital city. In orbit above, the first human-designed interstellar vessel, Prometheus *, prepared for its maiden voyage. Its crew, a mix of humans, and 6 other species, represented the new future taking shape. What's next for humanity among the stars? Asked a passing alien reporter, hovering near their conversation. Ambassador Carter looked out at the alien sunset and smiled. We've spent our entire history fighting to survive on a world that tried to kill us every day. Now we'll use that strength to explore, to build, and to protect. Earth was our cradle, but the galaxy is our future. As night fell on Centauri Prime, news of Earth's admission spread across thousands of worlds. The species from the final Deathworld had found their place among the stars, not as conquerors, but as guardians. The galaxy would never be the same.